few of our previous seconds. So if you're already here, hi, welcome everyone. We're gonna post the link on Twitter so that other people can also join us in this live call today. And we prepared a little bit of a program for all of us. And while I'm sharing this on Twitter, you can also maybe cheaper check in the live stream if it is working fine for us.
Can you increase the YouTube volume a little, very small?
All right, for my voice and for your voice, or for both?
Your voice only.
Okay.
Mine is already like.
How does OpenGov work? How does OpenGov work in this OpenGov office hours YouTube edition? We will create a full explainer for everyone new to OpenGov. All right, it's a tweet, so you can also share it, and let me ramp up my volume a little bit. So I'm adding, I added 3 decibels. I think this should be good. Let me know if it is not good, but I think it should be good. All right, okay, let's see if people are on the stream right now. I see two people, so hey, hi, welcome. You can feel free to also post comments in the chat here. We're gonna see it, I'm gonna see it, and then we can also comment on it. But either way, we're going to take a cut of this video of this live stream, and we're going to publish it on YouTube for everyone to see. So I think we're ready, so we can get started. Okay, so hi, welcome everyone. Today we're going to look at Polkadot OpenGov, and we give you an overview of its current state at the end of 2024. And specifically, we just not only want to talk about how does it work in theory, but we want to look at how does it look in the actual lived experience, and understanding how is OpenGov and governance being done in Polkadot, right? So Polkadot has a very sophisticated governance. It has a full on-chain token holder governance. That means essentially all the decisions can be made by all token holders about the big direction where Polkadot is going in, and especially financial decisions about upgrades of the network, about changes of the parameters to the network can be all made by token holders. So first, let's make an introduction. I'm Tommy from OpenGov.watch. It is a Polkadot native project. And with us today, we also have Cheaper. Hi, Cheaper.
Hi, everyone.
Cheaper, what do you actually do at Polkadot and OpenGov.watch?
I don't know. Someone asked you this question during the audit, and you just tell them like, I am paying him to do whatever he wants or something like that. What was it?
Yeah, I would say special projects. You are everywhere where it's needed. I remember that one of your first special projects was to be everywhere, be in every conversation, be present everywhere. And I think you're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow everything up, because one of our main functions is monitoring everything that is going on. So I'm trying to be in the conversations, follow what's going on, listen people. I'm also reporting, I'm writing our monthly reports every month. So you can find them on OpenGov.watch under governance reports. This is like a summary of every major important thing that has happened during that month. So even if you don't have time to closely follow everything, you can just read that 1-2 pager summary and get updated on major things that you need to know. I am also contributing our quarterly reports. You are writing them mostly, but I also try to contribute to them. What else? Yeah, having calls, being in the bounty. I think last couple of months I've been very busy with the bounty processes, especially the marketing bounty. We are having 4-hour calls every week, especially during the first initial setup phase, because we are doing this general bounty structuring. So this will get less, I hope, in the future. Yeah, basically these things. I don't know if I forget something.
I think it's pretty good. All right, so I hope you're pretty good covered with us today when you're watching this. And we want to give you a little bit of an insight into how is OpenGov actually working, because if you're coming to Polkadot OpenGov for the first time, maybe you're already used to seeing some other kinds of governance. And there is good governances out there, there is bad governances out there. Quite often what you see is some kind of off-chain voting snapshots where users are voting on a certain issue and then it is also executed off-chain. And basically the weight that they have in voting corresponds to the tokens that they have. But Polkadot is going much deeper with that. In Polkadot, every decision is posted on-chain, voting happens on-chain. And the thing is, when you're in Web3, all of this is a new world to you. You might have different backgrounds, maybe a technical background, maybe you're just a nerd, maybe you're a trader, an investor, or you're coming from other parts of business. And so everything seems like it's completely new. But not everything is actually completely new, because governance has existed way before that. So we know traditional governments, we know that companies have their own internal governance. We know that any kind of association, when people come together, they need to agree on how they want to cooperate, how they want to work together, the rules on how they handle their money, how they differentiate the different functions internally, and so on, right? So governance is a thing that has always existed as long as humans build communities. And there is a lot to learn and see from that. And so one very early distinction that we can make is the distinction between legislative and executive. So legislative means, how do we come to an agreement about what we want to do? So what do we want to do? That is part of the legislative. And then how are we going to do it? That is part of the executive. So legislative is making up your minds, maybe do some kind of voting, come to some form of consensus. That is all part of the legislative branch. And then the executive branch is, how do we execute the decisions? So when you apply this to Web3 governance, what it means is the voting part and maybe the forum discussions and all kinds of discussions, all of this is the legislative part. Typically when we talk about governance, we think about discussions and voting. So this is the legislative part. But then it comes to actually doing those things. So these are the people that make the proposals and then execute them. Those would be part of the executive branch, right? Now, when you develop a very sophisticated structure, then you can even start about talking about that there's departments, because depending on where your protocol puts its emphasis, maybe it's very development heavy. So a lot of funding goes into developing the protocol, developing surrounding parts of it. There is decisions to be made about the operations. So this can be running computers, indexes, maybe front ends, maybe paying for staff, for example. So in the case of Polkadot, it's actually operating the network, so paying for the nodes that run the network and the data indexing and so on. Running all the front ends, like when there is in Polkadot, there is a block explorer. It's an explorer, it needs to be operated, it needs to be continuously run. Then there is maybe marketing and outreach, so going into the world, promoting the product or the service. Sales is a little bit of an uncommon category, but what we understand there is everything that relates to maybe making business partnerships, promoting the product or helping integrators come to the conclusion and work with it, and then basically be able to cater to them, right? So even though it's commonly seen as a common good, so a blockchain or a protocol or block space, it still has a price. So you still pay for gas, you still pay for execution, right? So someone is buying the service, even though it's a common good in the sense that it is accessible to everyone. it still has a price that has to be paid because there is execution behind it, because computers are running it, because humans are running the machines that make this service available to you, right? And so bringing this out into the world, making maybe business deals is all part of sales. Then in Polkadot, we also look at the economy. So that means stimulating the economy by providing, the primary incentive here is stimulating the economy, increasing liquidity or providing liquidity incentives so that other parties bring liquidity. Then we have talent, of course, because the Polkadot ecosystem is so big. We need to grow talent. We need to allocate people how to be competent in developing the network, operating the network, and maybe also all the other aspects, right? So there's the Polkadot Blockchain Academy, there's hackathons and so on, so all of this falls under talent. There is research, that is a more wide field. Many things can be researched. So for example, how can we improve the user experience? And then the last category we see here is governance. So this is sort of the reflective part of how do we operate governance. This is having a governance explorer. This is, for example, OG Tracker is a project that looks at all the proposals and are they delivered or not, which is very important to have cost effectiveness, is to sort of have a controlling factor against all of those proposals, right? So what you can see here, this is a description. This is not embedded on-chain. This is not a hard rule. This is just a way of how we are looking at things and how we comprehend everything that's going on here. Cheaper, anything from your side to comment on this here?
Maybe very small thing on the talent subject, because like I was like thinking when you were explaining it, the talent is not only like acquiring new talent, but also retaining the existing talent we have. So there is, I just wanted to touch upon that topic because like sometimes like governance governing the network is hard. Like it's hard for everyone. I get that it's hard for us as well, but we should consider people and we should consider retaining the talent as well. So just wanted to add this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so quite often you have this growth perspective of attracting new stuff, attracting new protocols, attracting new people, but it's actually the nurturing and the retaining and see how do people do when they're in the ecosystem that is important to retain the strength. Yeah, and it brings us to the point. So now we talk about departments here, but all of these things are done by actual humans. All of these things are done by people that at some point in time suggested to do something, they submitted a proposal, they submitted a referendum, and then became active in that area, right? So what is also important to understand is when someone is making a proposal to the network, they might not be even considering what category this is in. This is just a help of us to better comprehend and better describe what is going on in the network, and we can lean on traditional terms like development, operations, research, marketing, sales, because it makes it easier for us to comprehend. And so the way how these things are executed can also happen in different kinds of ways. So the simplest thing is just handing in a proposal and then doing the thing. So it's sort of like making a contract, like offering a service. You say, we propose to, let's say operations, we propose to build an block explorer that allows you to look into all the blocks. And you make this proposal and then ask for a certain price, and then if OpenGov agrees, you essentially have entered into a contract. Now, we see this as part of the operations department, but it's in essence a free contract where the party delivers it or not delivers it and gets paid or doesn't get paid. But there is also other forms in how it can happen. So in Polkadot, we also have bounties. And the original idea of a bounty is you say, we want something to be done and this is the price tag we attached it. This was the original idea of a bounty. But over time it has grown to become much bigger and much more encompassing. So a bounty today is more similar to a department or a group of people that want to achieve a certain things. So sometimes someone proposes a bounty because they say, we want to do this, But it's such a big ask that we slice it up in milestones. We are going to do the actual work and then we are going to get paid afterwards. So the differentiation we see here is that there can be prospective funding. So first we give you money, then you do the thing. Or there can be retrospective funding or retroactive funding. So first you do the thing and then you get paid. And this is often a consideration or a conflict of what is the better approach. Each of them have advantages and disadvantages. Right.
Yeah, I can. Okay, so about the bounties, it's interesting because like yesterday I was writing an email to one of the, like I was reaching out to a company that I don't want to name here now. And when you saw my email, you gave me an answer like, what is a bounty? How can they understand what a bounty is? Like bounty is something that you put a price on some person's head. It was interesting, and it made me think like this is again a Polkadot terminology, right? Actually, if you go out there and say someone, now I'm working for a bounty, they won't understand anything. And we are just using these structures because they existed before like the whole decentralization effort was started. The bounties were there, and they are the best tools to create these departments. So we are still calling these things bounties, but maybe we should start calling them departments, teams, or a more understandable term maybe. I mean, technically they can still be bounties. I don't like, no one will care. I think it's just a technical terminology, but maybe when we are reaching outside, we should start calling them departments like events department or marketing department.
Yeah. Yeah. Personally, so my tendency is to have these things here, call them departments, and then I think we haven't found the ideal solution. Personally, I see them as sub-DAOs. So Polkadot is one big DAO, and then you have sub-DAOs. In MakerDAO, they also had an interesting name. I think it was, I'm not sure, it was something like working groups or something. No, it was something more sophisticated. Anyways, you could have different names, but there is always an evolution going on, and then sometimes you need to do this reality check of how do people from the outside observe it, right? So, but what's important for you if you're listening to this for the first time is that behind all of those, so we call them departments to comprehend them in an easier way, but internally it is much more differentiated. It's not like there is one uniform team working on everything. It's a lot of different people that are connected, right? So it's decentralized. It's not an hierarchical organization. It's decentralized, different people working on stuff, connecting different ways. And we also use this terminology to help people understand they're working in the same direction and to connect with each other and sort of understand that when this operates in a decentralized manner, then it's more responsibility on each person to step up and understand who they have to connect and interface with. So they can be very different in terms of how they're internally organized.
I was just gonna say this, like we have all these bounties, but one of the very fascinating thing is like all of them are unique. Like even the same bounty, for example, events bounty has 3 different versions, version 1, 2, and 3, and all 3 of them differ in their terms of operation depending on who are the curators of the bounty. So for like simply who are the team of the department like currently. And of course, this non-standardized approach has its own flaws. For example, it can allow some misconduct maybe in some bounties. Initially, maybe it did. But right now, what we are also trying to do is like putting a little bit of standards like compliance standards and getting everything into a structure so we have more predictable and more like they're still unique. So the bounty operators still can decide a lot of things, but at least have some standardizations in terms of reporting, in terms of like, I don't know, general, yeah, that's it, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So the point you're touching on is that there is different levels of quality, there is different characteristic, and when you mention the standards, it's about how can we raise the bar and how can we improve the quality standards. So what this also brings us to is that this is not a static structure. This is not baked in. This is our evolving understanding of everything. And so what we can look at right now is what's the current what it helps us do is understand what's the current status of things and how might it look in the future and where do we want to develop it to. So maybe this is a topic, an area that we can touch on now. How do we see the status of everything right now, and where could it go into the future, and maybe make this a little bit of a discussion between us, Jeep. Right, so some of these, and so what are you seeing here? So you're seeing here the Polkadot OpenGov portal. It's a Notion page that we're curating, and essentially the ambition here is to grow this and to create one informative page on all of these departments. And we're not done 100%, by far not. Some of these are more sophisticated than others. So we can look a little bit through them, see what content is already there, and maybe discuss them a little bit and make it informative for the listeners. So development. Development encompasses everything that has to do with developing the core technology of Polkadot and all the surrounding supportive technologies. So in development, the core developer of Polkadot SDK is Parity Technologies, and they also develop different tools and different frameworks and products around it. So it's the Polkadot SDK. Then there's the Polkadot Runtime, which is curated by the Technical Fellowship. The Technical Fellowship is an on-chain body. It's called a collective. So it's a group of people that are responsible for developing the runtime. So the Polkadot SDK is on the base level, and it's the thing you can use and tap into when you want to build a blockchain. And then on top of that is the Polkadot Runtime, and it is a specific implementation of the Polkadot SDK that is used to build the Polkadot relay chain, the system chains, and the whole mechanism of allowing this sharded environment of having multiple blockchains work together in the same space with the same security and with the same guarantees in terms of how fast it is and how fast it finalizes. So this is development. And yeah, here we talk about, I think the basic differentiation we can take is the one about Polkadot Cloud and Polkadot Hub. So Polkadot Cloud is basically Polkadot allowing you to build a service, some kind of application or something that is useful. That's Polkadot Cloud, so it's the bigger term. And then one specific service there is the Polkadot Hub, and that is everything we understand that gives you a lot of introductory functionality. So it hosts the DOT token, it allows other native assets like USDT, USDC, so native assets. In the future there will be smart contracts, it has staking, it has governance. That is what we understand under Polkadot Hub. And then there's quite a lot of other teams building in that space, and I would say I'm not yet happy with the page, how it presents itself right now, because yeah, it could be much more sophisticated. If you're interested to learn more on the topic, there is the Polkadot roadmap. So you can go to OpenGov.watch and then click on Polkadot roadmap, and you will see this differentiation between Polkadot Cloud, Polkadot Hub, and there is a little bit more of an explanation of where everything is going also. Okay, that's development. Let's see, quite a few bounties. So there is support in building stuff. There is also, I see the open source development grants bounty should be here, that's not here. Yeah. Good, so that was development. Next thing we see here is operations. So operations is actually running the network. Running the network, these are, for example, and you see this is an empty page, so this is not very good. Operations is running the network, so these are, for example, the infrastructure builders program, then the Paseo, so everything that has to do with running validators for the network, running the collators of the system chains, running the indexes, all the explorers are part of this. So the core enabling services for users that allow them to use the network, maybe data archivers, and so on. So then marketing and outreach, this should be more sophisticated, so I think we can show this with a little bit more pride. So marketing and outreach. So this is a complex topic because marketing. So marketing web free by itself is a complex topic, but marketing is much more than people typically believe. Many people, when they hear marketing, what they actually think about is advertising, so promoting the product. But advertising is just one function of marketing. Marketing also encompasses PR, it also encompasses branding, strategy, it encompasses content production, so creating informative content, distribution, so it can be many different things. And not even that term marketing is enough to describe the whole field, because there is much more a bigger thing around marketing that we call outreach. So that is, for example, also community building, developing communities, hosting events. So the ambassador program is also part of outreach. All of these things, we encompass them under outreach, and so we do, try to describe this here. Now, specifically here we have the marketing bounty, and maybe Chipper, you want to give a little bit of a short introduction of what the marketing bounty does and how it relates to the other things?
Why does it say the marketing bounty in trash?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. I guess it's the wrong link.
Yeah, I'm just right. So yeah, the bounty is like the current version has been established 1 month ago. So it's very new. It's still very new. We are still figuring out, I mean, it's almost over, but we are still figuring out the general structures. But the bounty started paying out as well, especially in December. So maybe it's a good time to show this as well, Tommy, because we haven't announced this. I mean, this is already public, but I'm sending you a message on the chat here. Okay. So if you go to the link I shared, you will see the marketing bounty homepage, where you can propose, make a proposal, submit a proposal, and also you can see our requests for proposals. So we are having this new, it's not a new by itself, but the marketing bounty didn't do this before. And so we are like pushing these requests for proposals. We are saying, oh, we need this and this and this. So if you can provide these services, please apply. And we are also saying what we need in the proposals. We also pushed out a transparency page just yesterday, where you can see all the marketing bounty spending and see how much the marketing bounty paid for which service, for which category, how much in dot value, how much in USD or euro value, and when. And you can also go to like specific months there, like November, December, and you can also see invoices, like who signed the transaction. So everything is transparent completely. And this one that you are showing is the monthly report, which the bounty manager Crane has written this one. And November is a little bit a small one, because like in November, it was mostly building the bounty itself. I think the bounty only paid out to one service in November, but in December, we are speeding up a lot. Like I think we already paid 20 different services or whatever. Upcoming. So we will have one more transparency page, which will also show the proposals that are in processing. So not only the approved and paid ones, like the spending tracker, but also the ones that we received and like under review or rejected, etc. So you will be able to see all of them. There's a small blocker there. I think one of my coworkers are trying to solve it, but it should go relatively in short time.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So the marketing bounty, it's a team of people that sort of pulls all the string together in the area of marketing. There's also different teams. There's, for example, Distractive. There is the social media marketing, the social media editorial board, and then we have different native content creation teams in the ecosystem. Polkadot is also famous for sponsoring Inter Miami and
so Heroic, we have Heroic,
the esports team, and so on, right?
Yeah.
So all of this stuff is going on here. Right. Okay. Going back to the portal. Okay, we got three areas covered. Sales. Now, sales is sort of a little bit new. Um, Typically, it's being talked about as business development. Sometimes people say growth. Very seldom people say like lead generation. But sort of this is a complex field. But there's actually quite a lot of people working in that. Typically, with the different parachain teams or protocol teams, when they are forging new relationships, when they're doing business development, we consider this as part of sales. And by the way, Chipa, this is also something that I want to reflect in the next treasury report to give a little bit of a better understanding and how much Polkadot has invested here. So I think about maybe splitting up, like pulling out the parts in the treasury report that were business development and maybe put them in a category of sales, because sort of we have like a lot of differentiation under outreach. And previously we considered outreach to be marketing and business development and sales and all of these things.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. We also forgot to mention events in the outreach topic.
Yes.
So maybe let me summarize it a little, like what's happening with the events. So we had as an ecosystem, this is a royal V. Whenever I say V, I'm talking about Polkadot in general. So it's like my little bit mistake. Anyway, the Polkadot network, the governance had some problems with the events previously, with the paying out a lot of money for events that the community does not very happy with. And then the network had a major overhaul in terms of events, like all the classic, I would say traditional events companies are not here anymore in a way. And so we replaced them with the new providers. And now people seem to be a little bit more happy with the events, especially in the last Sub-Zero in Thailand, which is a developer conference, if you don't know. And also, there are two bounties related with the events in Polkadot governance. One of them is the events bounty, which is aiming to fund bigger events like the Decoded, the Sub-Zero, and also smaller, but still not meetups, but events. And there's this meetups bounty, which is funding retroactively small meetups up to $1,000. So there are a lot of sources, and of course, everyone can always go to OpenGov directly. So it's because it's permissionless. So there are if you want to run a Polkadot event, there are a ton of opportunities that you can go through. You can start small with organizing a meetup, and then if you're more experienced, you can also go to the events bounty and apply there. So yeah, tons of opportunities.
Cool, thank you. Okay, just a second, I see a question coming in, so we're going to prioritize this. So Miss Sukamoto is asking, I would really like to up my Polkadot game, but not sure the best place to get involved, since I'm in a very rural area and am a full-time public school teacher who is in grad school. So the question is how to up your Polkadot game. It depends on what you mean by this. Do you mean getting involved in the community? Do you mean get a better understanding of everything and how you deal with stuff? So these can be very different things. I would say if you want to get more involved with the community, now let's start with this. It depends on sort of what do you want to know about the Polkadot. Is it the core technology that's interesting to you? Is it the ecosystem that is interesting to you? Do you prefer to have simple explanations, or do you want to really dive deep into everything? I would say if you want to start on the simpler front, a good place is always to start on Twitter, because there is quite a lot of people to connect to. Maybe I can find this tweet from today. So just today, this can be different every day, but right at the moment, Capo.dot is doing a lot of promotion for different people in the ecosystem. So you would be finding different people that are very actively promoting and then from there you can see like who are they mentioning, who is commenting, right? So this is a typical game if you just want to become part of the network and the community. I would highly suggest Twitter. If you prefer to be more on the intelligent side of conversations, I can suggest the Polkadot forum. So this forum.polkadot.network. And here you find all kinds of discussions that are more elaborate, more sophisticated. Twitter, yeah, cheaper, not Twitter, cheaper. Like, what's your suggestions for new people coming in?
Yeah. So I think like I want to answer this question not just the one that the question is coming from, but as a more general, because like there are a lot of people that don't know how to start engaging with Polkadot community in general. Like, so I was thinking, so specifically for Mishokamoto, since it's a rural area, I think like, so the meetups suggestion doesn't work there, right? Like you need to be in a big city for the organize a meetup or events. But like I understand you can like interact online. So there are also a lot of places that you can directly onboard and even start earning money. Like VAG Media, for example. If you are a good content creator, or if you trust yourself to write up some things, you can go to VAG Media Discord server and submit. So first, you need to create content, obviously, and then you submit the content that you created to the VAG Media, and then they reward you retroactively based on the content. There is also like they are also calling for specific contents. For example, they want you to create content for a wallet onboarding process or a NFT process or like project or whatever. So you can also like go these like this is actually more close to bounty, right? Because like they are creating these bounties for specific projects. So yeah, you can create content. This is like the easiest way to onboard. This is how I got onboarded to Polkadot. Like this is how I started. And I think this is a great place to start if you are like, if you have to be remote and enjoy creating content. You can also engage in governance discussions, which is like very easy way to like go into directly into the heart of the topic.
Who are we?
And so you can go to Subsquare and just follow all the incoming proposals and give your ideas about like what they are, like what do you think about them. Like you don't need millions of thoughts. So this is like I'm having real trouble to explain this to people, because like when I explain Polkadot governance to people, they say, oh, then this is like a plutocracy. So if you don't have millions of dollars, you cannot have any impact, because like people with a lot of money will decide everything. This is wrong. It's like, since the network is still very infant, people care about other people's opinions, because like there are not a lot of people speaking up in important topics. So if what you say makes sense, the people with that like impact, like hard power, listens to you. If what you're saying adding value, it's important because they listen to you and they change their opinion based on what you say, basically. So I would say it's still relatively easy to get soft power in the ecosystem decision-making front here. So we have two suggestions, right? Creating content and getting involved in governance.
Right. So this is on the side when you want to become active. There is opportunities to become active in terms of content creation, which might be a fit if you're a teacher. And I don't know, if you're a teacher, you already know this. Sometimes you learn best when you try to teach someone. And I think in Polkadot is true. It's also a great way to network on Twitter. Once you understand the concept, just explain it to other people, share it. If you're more on the passive side and you would like much rather consume and take everything in peace, I think the Polkadot forum is one idea. Another idea is, for example, if you go to Polkadot network on YouTube, there is like playlists on the past conferences. Okay, also people of Polkadot, but for example, Polkadot Decoded, the main conference, some other things. There is also the live streams that are happening, I think every 2 weeks or so at the moment. So there is quite a lot here. Right, and then there's also, for example, the Kusamarian with the weekly news. So this is Kusamarian with the weekly news and also interviews. So there is also governance. If you're interested in governance, this is definitely makes sense. Right. Okay. So these are some passive news sources, some active news sources. Of course, if you're interested in the core technology, you would also go to the Polkadot wiki, explore, and then you see a lot of it. This is what really got me started. So sort of reading everything on the wiki here. Good. Yeah, and if it's about becoming active in governance, as Chipa said, I think being as active on Subscribe and being active on the forum, joining the conversations, also joining the conversations on Twitter, there is a lot of opportunity to get connected with people. You can also install use Telegram, and sort of maybe like there's always a little bit of a hunt and how do you get connected on Telegram, but be on the lookout for different groups, and then over time you discover other groups where you can be part of. Good.
I want to add one more. So also, it's also a part of my journey. You can also give feedback to the projects that building on Polkadot. So not directly contributing to Polkadot, but the general Polkadot ecosystem. For example, I've been really involved in like Talisman, which is like a desktop wallet, which is a browser wallet. And I've been giving them, for example, feedback just like as a user, small feedbacks from time to time for like since they started. And I also gave feedback to Subwallet team, etc. So you can go out and like use these products and just create some small feedback, and they are really keen to implement those feedbacks as well. Like again, we are coming to the same point of like if what you do is adding value, someone will grab you and like put you in the right place in the end.
Yeah, so this is protocols. They have Discords or they have Telegram groups, and being part of those is also a great way to connect with people. Okay, so another comment. I really like the idea of lobbying at our state capital government, like finding departments there to pitch adopting blockchain architecture tech, talking to the agriculture department about track, for example. Yes, yeah, bringing these communities into your region or into your government makes a lot of sense. The typical experience that is, it all sounds very foreign. So I think what is always helpful to consider in this context is Web3 technology has specific advantages and disadvantages. So you don't want to use it for everything, but for some things, it is a much better use than traditional Web2 products. So, for example, everything that requires that information cannot be censored or removed, this is a good use for Web3. If you have a common database and you don't want that common database is manipulated by one entity, right? Then this is a good use case. Or on the other side, if some parts need to have privacy, then zero knowledge proofs and zero knowledge technology is also a good use case. Okay, so you're in California, right? So yeah, I mean the United States, I think, it has a tendency to regionalize stuff. So there is always an opportunity to start adopting things regionally, looking into things regionally. So for example, we have identity solutions in Polkadot. You can have decentralized storage in Polkadot. So I think what helps is understanding what's currently there in Polkadot that could be used, and start with those conversations. It also makes sense to connect with people. I'm not aware of people in California right now, but I'm pretty sure there are some people. Finding people to connect to, even if they're like not in your close region, is always a good idea. And then maybe there is a meetup in half a year or a year or so where you can be part of. And so it's also about making those relationships with people, even if you're not immediately can meet in the next few weeks.
One thing to add, I think we have two ecosystem agents active just as like this in America, in the United States. So for example, in my Florida, we have Funky, like engaging with the local governments. And in Texas, we have Young Beef. So there are people that doing exactly the same thing that this user has been asking.
Yeah.
So it's possible, and you can even get funded to engage in these discussions and get some value out of it.
And then in New York, we have the transistor team, so Peter Maric and Jon. So Maric, they're also there. So you're writing our special, I would say, education file system keeps going down, and private interoperability for our records would be great. Yeah, it's also important to understand Polkadot tech, you can also employ it privately. So it doesn't need to be a public ledger if that is somehow a concern. It can also be a private ledger. You can use the Polkadot SDK and use it as a private ledger, and people could use it. So this, for example, can make sense if you deploy a private blockchain, like a private cloud, and you run it on 5 different machines, and it just keeps running. And they're building a network. It's like a distributed database. So they all keep track of the same data, but it won't go down. So the thing is, you can use it for these kinds of backend systems that are not too data heavy. Once they become more data heavy, you might want to combine them with different solutions. But it always depends. For example, there can also be decentralized distributed data storage, right? So you can find solutions for those things, and where it comes to unstoppable applications that provide availability, then there is something in Polkadot that could be helpful, right? And it's also about starting that conversations, and then you can also reach out. You can also reach out to us, and we help connect you with people that can also explain the stuff on a technical level if that would be relevant, or if it's a good prospect, if it's very interesting. Maybe in some instances we can even get people into the region, depending on how promising it is, of course.
I mean, if someone can get a government contract, especially in the United States, I think that will be like huge win, and a lot of people will be willing to support that effort.
Yeah. So definitely, reach out to Young P, Funky, and Transistor. And it's also about building community in a network and having people interested. And you also don't need to be constrained to Polkadot. I have to say, you can also just see what is there generally in crypto in your area, right? Because you can maybe there's fans of 5 different ecosystems, and they're all looking to build community, but they don't know about people from their specific ecosystem. But also connecting with people from other ecosystems is great, because you learn about other ecosystems, what's good and bad about them. You can talk about Polkadot. So in this instance, it really helps, especially if it's a smaller region, like a region, less dense region, to just seek out the people that are there and connect with them. Maybe there is a nice regional meetup from people of different ecosystems, and you can make fun of each other or whatever. Okay. Yeah, so we are in the last few minutes of the call. Maybe we take a look back to wrap this up here. Yeah, we gave a little bit of an intro here, and maybe to quickly summarize how we're doing here. So development right now, I would say, is doing fine on its own. Developer support is still an issue that we need to improve, and I know that Parity is currently working on this. Operations is working perfectly fine, and it's all covered through bounties, I think. So this is the most fine thing that we have in Polkadot. They just keep operating and having their stuff figured out. Marketing outreach, growing nicely at the moment. Sales is currently in the process of being reorganized. Economy, there is sometimes a proposal, but in general, we have to strengthen the economy more, and it would be great to put more liquidity or more incentives into the economy. And Polkadot Treasury is growing. I don't know if you've seen this, Cheaper, but right now there's an interesting trend in the Polkadot Treasury. Have you seen it, Cheaper?
Yeah, it's in a net positive, right?
Yeah.
And I want to add something to the economy topic. The economy topic is like a result of everything that we are talking here, right? Because you need to have for example, the reason that we are focusing so much on the bounties is that if we can solve this problem of organization in general, then we can have a predictable budgeting system. So this is very related with the economy. And also we have the network has this DCA functions to the stable coins. This is, I think, also a part of the economy topic. And also the treasury is acting as would you consider them a loan, Tommy, maybe? Giving out these loans to DeFi protocols, etc. But generally, the economy topic is like, although there are like very good developments there and like very advanced things like what you're showing right now, we still need a more like predictable structure in the economy topic as well. And I think we are getting there. We are getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so .treasury is also a good page. Here you can see this is taken from the Polkadot Treasury report that we're creating quarterly and sort of summarizing the current state about what assets does Polkadot have, what's in bounties, what's in collectives, and then other kinds of things. It's even loading the live data from hydration. Good. Yeah,
which reminded me that this month is a quarterly report month, so
yeah,
there should be one in a couple of weeks.
yeah, I have to start on Monday. Okay, talent. We have the Polkadot Blockchain Academy. We have EasyA hackathons. We have the is it Web0 hackathons? Okay, there's also an empty page still. It's not EasyA. What is it? Then we have one block. So there's different teams performing hackathons. And I would say Polkadot Blockchain Academy has a strong force behind them also to synchronize and unify the efforts. Research is very differentiated. Yeah.
One important thing to mention about talent. So I think we like really need right now is an ecosystem job board, like accumulating all the different like job listings from the ecosystem. There is a page on polkadot.com and it's getting improved day by day, but I think we like really need one aggregator to get all the job listings in the ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. We would even be fine with having an HR person. I'm not sure if it's a full-time job, but I believe once you start working and once this starts building, you can have a full-time position just connecting people with jobs in the ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, research is much more differentiated, but I would say the most interesting thing here for me is the user experience, Bounty, and what they produced is actually by having just looking at so the research part is looking at what problems there are in the ecosystem. And one problem is users have a hard time if they have to pay with different tokens on different chains. And it doesn't really feel actualized and updated if you look at the vision of having a Polkadot cloud where you have all these services available to you. You want to pay with one token everywhere. So they discovered that this is an issue and they worked out the solutions and what would parachains need to change in order for them to be able to accept DOT and still be fine. So this is one project. Another project was, for example, universal dot address, where you have one address and it's valid in the whole ecosystem and you can use it in all the chains. So this is also one project that is being worked on right now. Yeah, bridge security bounty and so on. Okay. And then governance, OpenGov Watch. This is, for example, us, OG Tracker. And then, for example, there is attempts at governance, the weekly live show. Yeah, so all of these are things that are relating to governance. And there is also improvement ideas and like small improvement ideas on how we can make voting better or simpler, small convenience and quality of life improvements. And then some bigger ideas in terms of can we better facilitate and funnel discussions here. All right, I think we gave a good summary of everything that's there in Polkadot and OpenGov, and not only OpenGov, but in general in the ecosystem in terms of departments. And we had a conversation here on how can I get started and how can I involve myself deeper in Polkadot. So I would say these were two very interesting discussions to have.
I think it was a like really like spot on question how to get involved, because like I remember 2 months ago when you started creating this page, you are telling me I am aiming to like this as an introductory page to someone that is like outside of Polkadot. When they come in, they should be able to understand what is going on by looking onto this page. So it's a nice thing.
You know what we should do? We should make a page, like we should make a guide. How do I get started in Polkadot?
We should do a lot of things.
Yeah, but this one is an important thing. Maybe in January, or maybe over the holidays or something. All right. Okay, then let's pack it up here because we reserved 1 hour for this call, and in 3 minutes we're going to have our next call. So I hope this was informative for you. Thank you for watching. Have a good week, and always feel free to reach out on us. I think quite often a simple way, but not always the best, is to write a message to this character here at address Bob. Also on Telegram, maybe even simpler on Telegram. I I don't always respond immediately, but I always eventually respond. Okay, yeah, thank you for being part of this. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night,
Yes,
depending on where you're from, and goodbye.
bye bye.